Jenin mayor likens Israeli military operation to war in Gaza. The mayor of Jenin in the occupied West Bank told CNN on Monday that the Israeli assault on the Jenin refugee camp was akin to the war in Gaza, saying it had destroyed 120 buildings and displaced 15,000 people. What has been happening in Jenin city and the refugee camp over the past 2 weeks is similar to that of Gaza, but on a smaller scale, Mohammed Jarrah said Monday. Hundreds of residential units make up the 120 destroyed buildings, he said, noting that the destruction had impacted thousands of families. Jarrah described scenes of devastation amid a shortage of food, water and medication, as services have been disrupted because of the operation. He added that displacement is expected to only further increase. Israel launched its operation 2 days after the first stage of the Gaza ceasefire began, dubbing it Operation Iron Wall. The Israeli military said the operation was aimed at eliminating terrorists and terror infrastructure, and ensuring that terrorism does not return to the camp after the operation is over, the first lesson from the method of repeated raids in Gaza. More than 40 Palestinians have been killed across the West Bank by the Israeli military since the operation was launched, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, which said that 25 of those people were from Jenin. Dozens more have been injured, the ministry said. Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, a far-right nationalist who opposes the Israel-Hamas ceasefire, said in a January statement that security in the West Bank had been added to the country's war goals. Smotrich publicly toyed with quitting the Israeli government when the Gaza ceasefire was announced, but decided to stay in the cabinet after saying he had received assurances from Netanyahu on his commitment to continue Israel's military operations in the West Bank and Gaza. Jarrah told CNN that the military operation on Jenin was political, noting the desire of some in the Israeli government to annex the West Bank and encourage Palestinians to emigrate from the territory. The mayor said that schools might be open to take in displaced people, as was seen in Gaza over the 15-month-long war. Today, the Jenin camp is uninhabitable and would require major reconstruction efforts for it to stand on its feet, he said, adding that the crisis is huge and that alternative housing for the displaced might be needed for around 6 months. Last week, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said that Israeli troops would remain in the Jenin camp once their current operation is complete, a significant change in Israeli policy. Jenin's mayor told CNN that the minister's statement is worrying and raises many questions about the future of the West Bank, not just Jenin and its camp. Meanwhile, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, or UNRWA, said in a statement Monday that Jenin camp has been rendered a ghost town. Operations conducted both by Israeli and Palestinian security forces have led to the forced displacement of thousands of camp residents, many of whom will now have nowhere to return to. The basics of life are gone, it said. Today's shocking scenes in the West Bank undermine the fragile ceasefire reached in Gaza and risk a new escalation, the UNRWA statement added.